Well, welcome back, guests. My name is Matt Ditzworth with Life's Wealth Development Group. My next guest is Bob Dietrich. He's a distinguished Toastmaster, a nationally recognized video and speaking business trainer. His training program, called Paid to Speak, helps people learn more about taking their skills in public speaking, getting paid to speak. I'm one of his students and working hard at this transition, which led me to start a podcast like this as a way to enhance my speaking skills and get to know other people. Welcome to the show, Bob. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You're welcome. Hopefully you had a great day today here in San Diego. It's been hot all these times. What do you do when it gets hot like that?
Well, I tend to stay inside in air conditioning. We're not accustomed to extreme temperatures either direction here in San Diego, so it takes our bodies a little more time to acclimate, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't blame you. The air conditioner works great, as long as the power stays up, I guess, right? I was wondering if you'd tell us more about how you got to where you are today.
Oh, that's interesting. We were just going through that today. I'm working on a new product. And funny, every time you go through making a new informational product, you have to review your own story to kind of understand, kind of reframe your origins and things like that. And, I got started in the accounting field, ironically enough. I was an accountant for about 14 years. My first job before that was actually screening luggage at an airport, but that was only about 6 months. I spent 7 years as an accountant, 7 years as an accountant at my first job, and then another 7 at various other accounting jobs. And, it's interesting. It gave me a real perspective on what other businesses were like, what it was like to be in other businesses, but also behind the scenes, how they ran. Because when you follow the money within a business, you understand the processes, because they all cost money and they all have, different points that touch the accounting system. Everything from payroll to inventory and all sorts of expenses and things like that. So it was a great experience. And then when I first started in sales, I started by selling accounting software. So again, gave me the opportunity to go into business after business after business, understanding and learning about their processes and really how their companies worked. And they were all different. And so, after working with those companies and getting absolutely burnt out on accounting, even selling accounting software, I decided I was going to go into a different type of sales experience, which I started doing energy conservation sales. I felt I was making more of a difference. And I consciously chose something I felt like I was making more of a difference. That was a huge shift in my whole perspective at that point. And then I went on to start my own business in energy conservation. And at the time, I was going through Toastmasters at the same time, so I started improving my public speaking. And that's really where I focus a lot of my energy now, is public speaking, helping others become public speakers, and using my entrepreneurial skills to create key relationships that really provide high value to people I work with.
Right on. So you took quite a few different transitions in there yourself through finding what you like to do. It took a little bit of time to get there, huh?
Yeah, it took a little bit of time. I mean, I don't think it needs to take everybody that amount of time, but everybody has their own process, and you really have to be gentle with yourself and push yourself at the same time. It's kind of a bit of a dilemma, but you have to do both. And everybody's got their own process and everybody's got their own time. And as long as you don't quit, you're going to eventually achieve your goal.
You mentioned software, and I was just wondering, is that something you create those programs and sell them as a programmer, or was it something that you purchased and then sold?
No, it was actually software that had been already developed, and I was basically a salesperson for the company who was a reseller of the software. So it's a big accounting software called MAS 90, MAS 90. And It was pretty big at the time. I'm not even sure if it's still around, to be honest.
All right. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of that software that we used to use is either, completely mass. It's probably mass 90.45 or something, that has a whole other thing going on. But
right.
When you meet somebody in public, maybe on the street or on a bus, something like that, somewhere that is a random, what do you tell them that you do?
Well, I tell them I'm an entrepreneur who really focuses on helping people develop their message and share it with the world. And that's kind of, that's a short elevator pitch version. But, digging a little deeper, I help people become more comfortable with public speaking and show them the huge opportunity that's available for people who can basically organize their message, organize their experience and their passion and their education, especially people who are in their, late 30s, 40s, and 50s, because one thing they have is they definitely have experiences that are valuable. And as they share these experiences, as they package these experiences into a program and share them with people, they can establish themselves as, experts and authorities in the various fields that they work in. And it's a big deal nowadays because of the technology that's available, especially video, and especially people who practice public speaking and are willing to share their experiences and their knowledge on video. Those are the people that are in position to start to take advantage of this type of opportunity that's now in the marketplace.
Okay. And you find many people, like if you're meeting random people out there that would say that they're interested in learning more about that or doing that? Or do you find it more in a niche market kind of thing?
Well, I find that as people understand what's going on and understand that they have value and expertise in a certain field, and understand, especially people that are already engaged in public speaking, understand that once they understand that they can now take that public speaking and share it through the medium of video, that's when things click. Once they have those understandings of these key pieces, once they see the pieces that are in place, and all they have to do is start to put together these pieces in an organized format, that's when things click. That's when the light bulb goes on, and it's like, oh, okay, there is a way for me to create my own business based on my life's work.
Very interesting. And so that sounds like you help a lot of people. And so one question I had was, who influenced you throughout your life to do something like this, and how or why did they influence you?
Oh, so many people. When I think of influences, the first thing that comes to mind is people that I knew and I worked with. But there are so many people that I never met, like Robert Kiyosaki, and people that are dead, like Napoleon Hill, that influenced me at the time because I read their books and studied their stuff, and really, these types of things really had an influence on me. Especially Robert Kiyosaki and the understanding of that he taught in Rich Dad Poor Dad and the cash flow quadrant and things like that. And understanding that organizing yourself with a corporation, it was advantageous, and why it was so advantageous. Understanding that the opportunity to make money was not within the realm of being an employee. You had to leave the employee realm to really have a chance at becoming financially independent. Understanding that the corporate ladder is shaped like a pyramid, and that there's very little room at the top. And if everybody is in a corporation, or many people, vast majority of the people are working for corporations, and as they move up, there's less and less room at the top. It's shaped more like a pyramid. And what happens to all those people that never make it to upper management? And that's most of the people. So I learned all this stuff at an early age from Robert Kiyosaki, and decided I did not want to climb that corporate ladder. I did not want to, shoot for the 1% of the people that are actually going to make the high-end jobs. with the risk of either getting stuck at a low end job as an employee or getting marginalized and having to find another job at age 40 or 50. So I just took the road of becoming an entrepreneur, and it has been a huge benefit. And the reason why I'm so passionate about helping other people is because their financial freedom depends on it. For most people, the only way they're going to have financial independence is through the realm of starting their own business. And for many people, the closest thing, the fastest way to start their own business is to share their own expertise. So, it took me a while to create that, and it doesn't need to take nearly as long as it used to because of technology and because of where they are in relation to their experience and their job and their passion and their education, et cetera.
That's very interesting. A lot of authors that probably help a lot of people that don't know how many people they've actually helped. Very interesting. But I know a lot of people that read those books and talked about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, myself included. So very interesting. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's is probably largely made up of transitioning military. And they're transitioning at maybe 4 years in their career or possibly up to 30 years. And I know that each one of them could use individual advice, of course, but what general advice do you have for someone that's making a huge change in their life's direction, going from what Robert Kiyosaki calls the rat race to something like entrepreneurship or even changing direction from military to civilian job-wise?
Well, there's lots of advice, but the first thing I would say is don't quit your corporate job. You need to keep your job and handle your expenses, especially if you have a family, until you decide on a direction and that direction is starting to pay off. When you're young in your 20s, you don't have kids, you don't have a family to support, then do what Robert Kiyosaki says. Take a job for the experience and get that experience and then move on to the next job. Don't take it for the money. But if you have a family and you have things like that, you need to keep your job, and you really need to provide for your family as the first priority. At the same time, though, you don't have to give up this dream of financial independence. You just have to schedule time after work, and it's going to take a little more time to do it, but it can be done. And you just have to, start to work with people, invest in yourself. That's one thing I haven't heard many people talk about that is so important. Is there's lots of information out there, lots of people's courses, lots of different things you can do, but learning and investing in your own knowledge is probably the biggest ROI that you can get anywhere, because what you learn and then take action on and implement into your life can pay off so much bigger than anything you'll ever invest in. So you want to definitely learn and invest in yourself and take some of these programs. We spend so much money on college, $60,000, $100,000 and more on college, but when it comes to taking a $2,000 course or something like that, a lot of people will start to, hem and haw or question it, or, it doesn't make sense to me. You just spent $60,000 on a education that never really will have a direct, correlation or impact on your business. But you take you spend $2,000 on a course that'll show you exactly how to start your business. I mean, it's a no-brainer. And people really have a struggle trying to figure out whether they're going to invest in that. So invest in yourself is probably the biggest piece of advice I can say, and do that learning, acquire that knowledge without quitting your day job.
Okay. Yeah, that's excellent. I've heard that before. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Many people have it. They work harder on their job and themselves go to the wayside. So What do you love most about what you do?
Well, what I love most about what I do is that I get to help a lot of people. I get to make a bigger impact that I can't make, just working at a job. I learned this one time from a man I never met, but who created a seminar company called PSI Seminars. His name was Thomas Willhite. And he said, you are paid in direct proportion to the service you render mankind. And when you think about that statement, it's like you're paid in direct proportion to the service you render. So, I always like to use the analogy of a waiter or waitress. It's like, is there value in the world for people who do that? Absolutely. They help people, and there's an experience that they provide and a service they provide, and it's certainly valuable. Everybody's got value that's out there working and providing services and products and things like that. But you have to ask yourself, how many people have I helped today? I served 50 people or 100 people today or whatever. But what if, to what level did you impact their life? And then how many people were you able to reach? And now with the internet and video and being able to package your knowledge and share it with the world, you can literally reach thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of people. And you can do it in a way where you're doing that on a daily basis. And, when you look at the service that you can render mankind nowadays, there's a huge opportunity there. So with that huge opportunity comes a huge opportunity for your own financial independence. It comes the opportunity for a huge paycheck, which you don't have working as a waiter or waitress or any job for that matter as an employee. So even as a salesperson, sure, you can sell, the idea is that you can keep selling and selling and selling, and you can make as much money as you want. But there's a point when the company can't fulfill those sales any longer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's an issue, and that's an issue people don't think about. Sales is not an unlimited, it has a cap on it too. It's a higher cap. You certainly have more control, but you don't have unlimited control. And it does kind of become to a point where it's unlimited. You can create financial independence when you start to create your own job, your own wealth, and your own business.
Right. Very good. And you said Thomas, how do you spell his last name?
Thomas Willhite, and I have no idea.
I would like to put the names in the show notes, and maybe people can look them up too. So, okay, I'll look it up and see what is it. Everybody always asks what you love about what you do. I would like to also ask, if it's okay, what is it that maybe you don't love or don't like about what you do, if there's anything?
Well, what I do now is very technical, and it takes a long time sometimes to create and bring everything together and make things happen. So it is a struggle. It's frustrating. It can be frustrating at times. And the other thing is that, if you have a product and somebody buys a product, sometimes they don't create results from it, and because they don't follow through. Things come up in their life. All sorts of things can happen. And, when you have something that will work for people and they just don't follow through, or they don't create the results that they're hoping to because they didn't finish the program, for example, that can be frustrating. And that's a bummer that happens. But everybody has to be responsible for their own results, and they can't be blaming other people. They have to be responsible for their own results and stick with it. One thing I've learned is that stopping doesn't work, which means quitting doesn't work. You fail when you quit. You don't fail if you keep going. If you're engaged in a process, you haven't failed. So definitely, don't quit, don't fail. You can continue moving forward, and you can continue creating results as long as you stay engaged and you don't stop.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Great stuff to hear. And that leads me to another question. This is you talk about the groups of people that you work with, that may be students or clients. So, but if you could put together like a mastermind group of advisors with anyone, alive or dead, who do you think you would put on there? Or who would you ask to join that mastermind group?
Oh, alive or dead? You mean like Jesus and Gandhi type? What?
Yeah.
Oh.
But anybody who wanted
let's see.
Napoleon Hill had a whole group of people that were basically, none of them were alive, but he could go in there and kind of meditate, talk to them, and ask questions.
Yeah, that's a interesting question. I would want to be more realistic because there's a chance I could meet some of these people, so I would probably just stick to the people that are alive, and some of the people that I would have in my group are people that have created some of the types of results that I'd like to create. So Bill Gates would probably be on there. Hearing his story has been fascinating. I guess Steve Jobs is dead, so but he'd probably be one I'd have on there. Richard Branson, I would have on there. He's created some amazing stuff and has an incredible entrepreneurial spirit.
Very good story.
And probably Jennifer Aniston because she's super cute. I mean, I don't know. Everybody's got their actors or actresses that they. Let's see. I never met Thomas Willhite. I always would have loved to meet him. So I'd have him on there.
I didn't hear the last one. I think that the audio cut out.
Oh, Thomas Willhite, the gentleman I told you about earlier. It would be great to have him on there as well. I never met him, but I would love to meet him. Yeah, I'd have to think a little deeper on that because that would be, that would be a.
That's a good group of people that you mentioned there.
Yeah, I'll give it some more thought. If something comes up during the podcast here, I'll shout them out.
Okay, sounds good. I appreciate it. Well, I'll ask you this one. This is a question that I've been asking everybody, each one that I've interviewed, because I think that the word try has many different meanings, or at least so far 2 meanings, but could mean other things, and how you use that word. So I'm just wondering, if you hear the word try or hear somebody use that word, or even yourself, what do you think that means from your perspective?
Oh, well, I used to think, when I was working in personal growth, it was like you couldn't use the word try. And I understood why. It made sense to me why you would not want people to use the word try. However, try or trying, can also mean that I'm working on it. I'm doing it now. And it's really just the word try, it's probably better to just eliminate it from your entire vocabulary if you can, because it kind of has a built-in backdoor, meaning that, I'm trying, or I gave it a try, and so that means that, it didn't work out because, it just, circumstances beyond my control, and it kind of sets you up to be a victim.
Right.
So, I love the Star Wars quote by Yoda, right? Do or do not, there is no try. And that kind of sums it up. Kind of really sums up the word try. There is no try. Eliminate it from your vocabulary. Either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. And if you're working on it, then say you're working on it. But eliminating the word try from your vocabulary is probably one of the best things you can do as far as, eliminating the victim mentality. And the victim mentality is really kind of insidious in your life, especially if you're trapped in it. If you ever find yourself blaming other people, you probably have a victim mentality, and you definitely want to get rid of it because it is an excuse And there's no empowerment. You take away all your empowerment when you create a victim mentality and blame other people or use the word try. You want to empower yourself by understanding that you can do things differently, by you're responsible at some level for creating what you're creating, and understanding that you're responsible or taking that responsibility gives you the empowerment to create new results. And when you use try or take the victim mentality, it's, you put yourself at a point where you don't get to create new results because it was never your fault. It was never your responsibility. It was circumstances beyond your control. So I would say, it's a long answer to a short question, but eliminate try, eliminate the victim mentality, and empower yourself with the power to make the change that you want to create.
Right. Thank you very much. Yeah, the Yoda quote has come up each time. In the way that I guess I boil it down for myself is with talking to people is when it has to do with an action, such as some kind of action, the word try should never be there. But if you're tasting some new food or tasting something, it is more of a try. I'm going to try this, and so it's used more as a verb in that than a do situation. So, and along with that, with that word try and do, what kind of daily routines do you have, if any, or something that you would like to create daily routine to
daily routines I think are important, especially if they're healthy ones. Getting up and having a cigarette is not a healthy routine, but one of the ones that I do is I get up and I go to the gym. And there are many days where I don't want to go to the gym. So I find myself, because I go so often, I find myself getting up and going to the gym. And sometimes I'll be having a conversation in my mind telling myself I don't want to go to the gym as I'm putting my gym clothes on. So daily routines help you power through those times when you don't want to do something, but you should do it because it's the best thing for you. So I'll get my exercise in and, clear my head and get myself refreshed, and that makes a huge difference in my life as far as what I'm able to accomplish and how I'm able to keep myself healthy.
Very good. Yeah, gets the blood pumping in the morning first thing, huh?
Yes.
So books, seems like you've talked a lot about books. So wondering what kind of books what books have you gifted the most, or do you suggest most for other people if they're looking for a book to read or something challenging? Well, not challenging, but just books that you've gifted or suggested most.
Interesting. For the most part, I stay away from fiction. I usually just have, self-help or informational type books. And the book Made to Stick by the Heath brothers was probably one of my favorites because it gave me so much information about things like the curse of knowledge and understanding how to connect with your audience deeper and how to create a core message in just a few words as opposed to having kind of a long-winded explanation of things. So, which is really helpful when you're marketing something. So, Made to Stick was a very, very important and impactful book. They also had another book called Switch, which was, recommended to me by Chris Nielsen, a friend of mine, and that was a wonderful book by the same authors. So they have a suite of books. I'm looking forward to listening to the others. I like to use the Audible app because I'm able to listen to these books while I'm working out or while I'm driving, and I get to make the best of those times. So those are two great books. I know Anthony Robbins, The Giant Within, was a fantastic book. Really enjoyed that. There's another one that was called Business Brilliant. That was another great book that I really enjoyed. Talked about different business situations and how people were able to overcome them and create success. There's another book that is called The Biology of Belief. That book is really phenomenal. It's very deep and very, it's scientific and it's spiritual at the same time. It talks about how our cell structure works, how the cells of the body work, and how they create our reality. And it's an amazing book, Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, who I had the pleasure of meeting and taking one of his seminars that he himself instructed. It shows you also how muscle testing can work, how it does work, the science behind it, and things like that. And there's another book called Talk Like Ted, which I thought was phenomenal. Talk Like Ted was a great book that really was talking about how TED Talks are designed, why they're 18 minutes, why 18 minutes is an effective time, and all sorts of different tips from TED Talks. And then another one, Simon Sinek, one of my favorite authors, Leaders Eat Last and Start With Why. Eaters Eat Last was, I thought, a great book. I really enjoyed that. And so, yeah, there are several of them. Obviously, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and a few others. So
very good. Yeah, I like the Rick. Check out that Biology of Belief. Seeing it something pop up on different lists, stuff like that. That sounds like a good one.
Yes, I highly recommend it.
Now, if you could, this is the last question I have, and I'm just wondering. I think it's interesting to ask if you could put up a billboard anywhere in the world. And I got this question and the last question from Tim Ferriss. I don't know if you ever listened to him and his podcast. That's really two last questions came from. If you could put up a billboard anywhere in the world, what would you, where would you put it, and what would it say?
Wow, that's an interesting question. Yeah, Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Workweek, that was a good book too. It had a lot of information, so you had to really, not only could you listen to it, but you had to really sit down and read it too, because you had to make notes and stuff. There were so many links and things you needed to write down. But the billboard idea, it's like geez, that's a tough question. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is you can do it. Because I think we can do anything that we put our minds to. At least that's what Napoleon Hill says, and that's been my experience as well. When you set your mind to something, you can create whatever it is you want to create in your life. Do unto others as you want done unto you is a kind of a time, almost a worn out cliche in my opinion, but it is it's important because everything comes around. Everything is connected.
Right.
So that's one of those things that I really need to think about, because if I'm going to create a billboard and put one thing on it, I'd really want to give that some thought.
Right.
But
you only have that one shot to see it.
Yeah. So, and maybe you only live once. Maybe that would be it, because we talk, we think about things like religion and stuff like that, and I believe in God, and I was brought up Catholic and became a Christian at 19 and things, went through that process, and still, you are not guaranteed of another life. People talk about afterlives and things like that, but there's no proof, there's no guarantee, there's nothing written, there's no agreement, there's nothing. It's like you have this life, and that's for sure, and everything else is a maybe, and you don't know. So you need to live this life as if this is the only one you've got. And maybe that's what needs to be on the billboard, because you You only have one shot, and you certainly don't want to die in regret of not stepping up when you had the chance.
Right. They're all great examples. I can see the billboard up and people looking at that, going by, and having that impact on them. So appreciate your quick thoughts on that. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob, I thank you for your time. I don't know if you have any parting words, but I'll give you the last shot, and also maybe the best way to contact you if you have a best way, or if you just want me to, if it's possible, to list maybe some of your websites and other Twitter and Facebook, stuff like that. What do you have of it?
I'm 52 years old, and I feel like I've had a lot of experiences, and I've learned a lot. And there's so much more to learn, and there's so much out there that you can get overwhelmed sometimes. And there are things that are really, really, really important in life. And the way you think is, in my opinion, the most important thing. Because the way you think determines upon how you love and who you love and how you experience love and how you experience your life and the actions you take and the feelings you feel. And so determining how you think is so, so, so important because it shapes everything. And when you think about how you think, I've kind of identified 3 areas that are helpful in that process, and they are, who do you surround yourself with? Super important on how you think, because you're almost talking to yourself through these people. In other words, you're allowing them to have feedback onto your life. So who you surround yourself with is vital. What you surround yourself with is vital. The kind of music you listen to, the kind of pictures you have in your house, the kind of everyday affirmations that seem like they don't mean anything, but can make a huge difference. And then the things that you actually do tell yourself, the things you think about yourself, that you aren't aware of and just let it go. You do something like you drop a glass and it breaks on the ground and you call yourself stupid, either out loud or under your breath or in your own mind. Those little things, they all make a difference. And understanding how they make a difference is super, super important because it shapes who you are and it shapes your confidence. So, and as an entrepreneur, you and a business person, and just as a human being, it's vital you protect your confidence. Your confidence is extremely important in your development. So, because it can push you forward, or it can, low confidence can make you stuck. So, I would say that, in my parting thoughts, Matt, I would say making sure that you pay close and careful attention to the way you think, because it shapes everything in your life, would be the thing that you would want to focus on the most. And learning techniques to reshape your thoughts will pay off the biggest dividends.
Outstanding. Yeah, that's a great parting thoughts. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for having me on your show. You are a phenomenal leader, and you've done so much work on yourself. I very, very much have a lot of admiration for you and what you've done. So for all of you out there listening, Matt is a wonderful example of somebody who has, taken his life and decided to create it on purpose. And he's definitely a person that you want to stick with and follow, and he's definitely one of the type of person you want around your circle of influence. So thank you for having me on your show, Matt. It's an honor.
Bob, appreciate that last thought too, and then I really appreciate it coming from somebody like you. It means a lot, and I appreciate that.
Very welcome.
Thank you, and have a great day. I will talk to you again later sometime, and maybe follow up in a few months, and maybe we can get together again like this and kind of catch up and see where things are going. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Bye. All right, well, this is Matt Ditsworth, and I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for the guest today. All valuable, great information. Remember to tune in next week as we bring you another guest here on Life's Wealth Radio. It's my goal to offer you valuable information, so please comment below and let us know how you feel and what kind of information you're looking for in your transition. There's many people out there that have already transitioned or who are in a position that you may be looking to go to and could maybe benefit from some of their experience. Learn maybe on a curve, things that they learned through the hard way, maybe you can learn it through them. So take it easy, have a great night, and again, thank you for your valuable time, and tune in next week. I'll see you. Have a great day.